My name's Christine Vallertson. I'm married to Josh. We have 2 kids, Luke and Wyatt.
Luke is just incredibly compassionate, soft-spoken.
He was the perfect older brother for Wyatt, exactly what Wyatt needed, and he is, his protector.
My name is Wyatt and I'm 5.5.
He is a little fireball of a personality. He is very strong-willed, strong-headed, just full of life.
If I do this, it will go down. If I do this, it will go up.
Got an amazing sense of humor. He finds so many things funny, and he likes to make people laugh.
Kindergarten. This is 0th grade.
0.
Josh and I met when we were both living and working in New York City. We came out to Nebraska to mainly just have a better quality of life and grow our family.
Everything seemed perfectly normal from our point of view until at 16 weeks, Christine and I decided that we wanted to know before the 20-week ultrasound where they sex the baby. So we went to a private place.
The technician was actually taking quite a while, and it was a little confusing because we were like, well, it should be pretty quick to find out if we're having a boy or a girl at this point. Eventually we found out we were having a boy, so we forgot about how long it took and just were ecstatic that we were having another boy.
So we went to dinner and named him, and that was spectacular too because we agreed right out of the box, and we just kind of fell in love with the name and the prospect.
The next day I was working from home, and that's when I got the phone call from my OBGYN, and she said, they saw something, so you need to go see a perinatalist right away. I was devastated. Never expected a phone call like that. They did an ultrasound, looked at his heart, said, he has an arrhythmia, so his heart was beating erratically.
We learned that his complications were incredibly, incredibly complicated, and they basically mentioned they're dire. So the focus became on Christine and her health, knowing that Wyatt just wasn't viable to survive.
So we continued on, and I had weekly appointments. It was painful to watch, and we weren't ever going to give up on Wyatt, but we also, at the same time, going to give that kid every chance we possibly could to come through it. We watched his heart rate go down from 60 beats per minute to 55 beats per minute to 50 beats per minute. After every appointment, it got as low as 40 beats per minute. We were preparing for the worst, but always leaving that little sliver of chance that something good could come out of it.
We had talked for months of when we need to tell Luke that he's not getting a baby brother. And I can just see it as vividly as, it was yesterday. He was devastated. Luke went to Build-A-Bear with Christine and said, I need to build Wyatt a Build-A-Bear so he can take it to heaven with him.
I made a wish that he was going to be okay, and I did the Build-A-Bear thing, and then I put it in a bear.
He went full term. We induced him on March 26th. I remember going into the hospital that day, and it was really hard. It was just it was the end of a journey, and something I wasn't really ready to face. But I remember being there and listening to the song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star being played as other babies were being born, and knowing that I most likely wouldn't be bringing my son home. When he came out very fast, and he turned blue, like they said he would, but he was starting to cry. It wasn't the very loudest cry, it was a very weak cry.
And then he turns bright pink, and then he wants to laugh and cry, and then he starts to root and stuff, and we're all looking at each other going.
I was saying I love you as quickly as I could. I didn't know how much time we were gonna have with him. And so our pediatrician did come in, and that's when she called over to Children's Hospital.
Everything was going pretty fast at that point in time, for them and for me too. I quickly did an assessment of him and a quick echocardiogram.
Dr. Fletcher gave us a little time, but he was very succinct. He said, "We can save your son, but we have to go now."
Dr. Fletcher gave me a call and said, hey Jim, what do you think? There's this baby. We all thought that he wasn't going to survive to be born. Then we all thought that he would die immediately after birth, and he's not doing it. What do you think about taking him?
I realized with heart rates in the high 40s, Wyatt couldn't sustain very long at that kind of heart rate.
And so I said, sure.
They just had me sit down and took Wyatt and gave me that moment with him, which was really important and special to me because we didn't know with a 50-50 chance if he'd be surviving the surgery that he was heading into the next day.
We took him to the operating room electively and fixed up the inside of his heart, put a permanent pacemaker. And
A pacemaker helps your heart pump. It was right here.
He looked like a different baby. After the surgery, you could tell, like you could feel the difference even just being in a room with him. We were on cloud 9 at this point, completely on cloud 9, just like, we're gonna bring him home? Like, it was just this amazing thing that I didn't dare hope for, but always held out a slimmer of hope for. He was home in like 6 days after that.
Why do you want to be a doctor?
Because I wanna help people.
It's a sketchy idea to bet against a kid. He's got a super complicated heart. There are no 20-year-olds walking around with hearts like his, nor 30-year-olds, nor 40-year-olds. And so we need to figure out, how do we take care of these kids across their whole lifespan?
Wyatt's a special kid. There's not many that have a story similar to him. But when you see a kid that does well in the end, it really makes you say, this is why I do this. Yeah. I think all kids with complex structural heart disease, we feel they deserve a chance.
Christine and I, we saw the other side of Children's, and it was devastating to us. Just knowing that. And it's almost that kind of guilt that we get to take our son home. And I met people, on the 5th floor that had been there for 6, 8, 9 months. We saw both sides of it, and that's another reason we have to continue to support the Children's and the Research Institutes of the American Heart Association, because there will be a time in the future where I hope and pray that, the unknown becomes the known. Wyatt means little warrior, and he has absolutely held up his end of the bargain, because he fights every day, hopefully to be a big warrior someday.